So it is my honor to welcome Dr. Jane Kelley, an associate professor and the academic coordinator of the PhD program in Language, Literacy, and Technology at Washington State University, Pullman. In this particular occasion, Dr. Kelley will talk about students at the PhD program, little bit information about the admission criteria of the students, and also some tips to be successful in the PhD program. And the podcast starts now. Hello, Dr. Kelley. How are you today?
I'm very good, Calvin, and thank you for inviting me on the show.
Dr. Kelley, as a start, could you please tell brief information about the PhD program? So, for example, what students study here in general, actually?
So the name of our program kind of tells it all. Our program is Language, Literacy, and Technology. And our program mostly focuses on how to teach language and how to teach literacy with the integration of technology. In other words, how can technology support language learning and literacy learning?
Personally speaking, I'm so happy to study at the PhD program. And Dr. Kelley, actually, this is my curiosity. So why does the PhD program accept me to study here? Could you please tell me my selection process? And of course, the other students in general, does the program have specific criteria to accept me and the other students?
That's a great question, Calvin. We actually use a variety of documents to look at. So, we look at, of course, grade point average is always important. And one of the criteria is that students' grades have to be above a 3.0 in their master's degree. Most of our students are well above that. Most of our students are 3.5 and above or 3.9 in their master's degree. But that's kind of the initial cutoff. If someone is below a 3.0, then the application usually is not looked at further unless there's something extraordinary about that application. But after that, what we really look for is someone who is a really good fit for our program. Again, I said we focus on language learning and literacy learning, and most of our students are people who are teaching English or maybe another language, but they're teaching a second language to people, either as a foreign language or as a second language learning because they're in a country and need to learn that language, or learning literacy skills. Some of our students are working in the school system and they want to be better informed about how to teach children how to read and write, or high school students how to get better at reading and writing. So that's our main focus, and then we use technology to enhance all of that. How can we use technology to help both of those aspects about how to teach language and how to teach literacy? So we look very carefully at the student's statement of intent, and we want to see if this person is wanting to do the types of things that we're doing here, and that we can support the student. If the student is wanting to do something that doesn't really fit with what we're doing in our program, then we don't feel we could support that student, and we may help that student find a better program. So that's one of we look very closely at the letter of intent, and to see what the student's background experience is and what the student wants to research. And so that's a key part of our admissions process. Another key part is writing skills. In a PhD program, people have to do a lot of writing and they have to do a lot of reading, and it's a very rigorous program. And if they're having a lot of mistakes, even in the letter of intent or a curriculum vitae or even email correspondence back and forth, if there's a lot of errors, and then it's a concern. If this person is having difficulty communicating at the application level, then it might be too rigorous of a program at that time, and maybe the student would benefit from additional courses or spending some more time practicing their own writing skills.
Okay, thank you, Professor. So I can say that the program looks for students, and the program wants to ensure that they can help the students to grow, right?
Correct. That's exactly right. We want to make sure that we have something that the student is looking for. That if the student is looking for some kind of support or learning more about something, that's something that we can actually do to help the student. It's not always a perfect fit. There's just maybe a couple key parts of the student's background and what the student wants to know, and that can be developed later as the student does his or her own research in the program.
So yeah, thank you. So because I think you answer many people's curiosity, because like some of my friends ask me like, when can we be here? Like, how do they select us? Then yeah, I think this is a very clear information about that process. And Dr. Kelley, this is my second semester in the PhD program, and whenever I come to the classes, I always meet classmates coming from different countries. Like, for example, I have a friend from Libya, Thailand, Indonesia, and some from Saudi Arabia and China. And at that point, do you have experiences in teaching international students in the PhD program? And could you please tell us, like, what do you like most about them, about the international students?
Well, first I have to say I like all of the students. I think all of our students, we have domestic students and we have international students, and I think it's exciting to have everyone together. I really can't imagine having only one or the other, because I think both groups bring so much to the program. And every time I have international students, I learn so much about the country that they're from and about their program, but also from the domestic students. I mean, they have a lot to contribute, and every experience they have can be new and different from my background. So the international students, I think it's a special treat because it really help us understand about the global society, and sometimes I can't go visit all those countries, so it is nice to have international students in our program and be part of the whole group, and we all learn from each other.
Okay, so you say that, yeah, both domestic and international students are important here because they can like support each other, they can like be a source from one another. And
Correct. I think it really helps to deepen everyone's understanding. If we just had a group of domestic students and we talk about what's happening in the United States, I don't think that we get a deep understanding of the world issues in language learning and literacy learning and all the politics around that. And by having international students, from all over the world, we actually can even compare, because like you mentioned, we have students from Libya, we have students from China, students from Indonesia, and each one of them can add to the conversation because each of them have come from a different situation and has a different background experience.
okay, that's good. I agree with you. Right. Okay, so Dr. Kelley, before we end our talk, like, do you have some tips for the current PhD students and also for the prospective students to be successful in the PhD program? So what should we do? What should they do to be successful in the PhD program?
That's a great question. What should they do?
Do we need to pray? Do we need to pray every day, or?
I think you need to do whatever works best for you. If it's praying, sometimes that can be very helpful for students, but also exercise. And I think being connected with each other, we're pretty lucky. I think our students are very close. Every time a new cohort comes in, they have been able to make special bonds with each other and work together and study. And I think that's important to have a support group. To have other people you can just check in and say, can we talk about the reading that we did? I'm a little confused, or have a conversation. And I think having sometimes those conversations outside of class can help, again, deepen that understanding of what you need to do to understand a course. So, I think, you need to take care of your well-being and whatever that is. If it's if it's prayer, if it's food, if it's exercise, if it's all of the above. Having a social support group is also important. And taking a breather and just, doing what you can do, accept what you can do, and then maybe sometimes you can't get through everything that you wanted to do, and being able to accept that and not get too overwhelmed or frustrated, and maybe kind of break down goals so that you can reach the goals that you want to attain. Just kind of break them down so that you can say, okay, I've done this, and then you go on to the next thing, and so it doesn't feel so overwhelming.
Okay. And the last one, like you mentioned about the writing, that we should have like good writing skill. Do you have like some tips to improve their writing?
Writing is an ongoing life skill. Even as a professor, I'm always developing and honing my own writing skills. The only way to do that is to do it. The only way to become a better writer is to write and to work with other people and get feedback, and be willing to take criticism and constructive criticism. So graduate students, if you can form that group and you work together and you write a paper for a class and another person writes a paper and then you peer edit each other's, you can learn a lot, because sometimes you don't notice the mistakes in your own writing, but you read someone else's and you say, oh wait, maybe you could do this. And by doing that, then it can actually help you with your own writing. So forming those relationships where you can check each other's work, give each other tips, find out better, as best you can to get better and better at the writing. That would be a great benefit to you and your classmates.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Kelley. We'll do it in our study. Okay, so this is the last section. I would like to challenge you to say some Indonesian words, because I believe that our listeners might be from Indonesia. So, could you please say this word? Belajar yang serius ya, kamu pasti bisa. Can you say that, Dr. Kelley?
I will give it a try. I'll give it a try. Okay. Belajar yang serius ya, kamu pasti bisa.
Okay. Could you please say it once again, Dr. Kelley? Belajar yang serius ya, kamu pasti bisa.
Belajar yang serius ya, kamu pasti bisa.
That was wonderful. Thank you, Dr. Kelley, for your time. And we appreciate you, and we believe that all the information that you give in this interview will be useful for me and for listeners of this podcast. So once again, thank you very much, Dr. Jane Kelley, an associate professor at Washington State University Pullman and the academic coordinator of the PhD program in Language, Literacy, and Technology. Thank you, Dr. Kelley.
Thank you. Have a good day.